Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni Viewer, and now that the MonsterVerse is in full swing, I think it's time to make a wish list.
The upcoming sequel, Godzilla King of the Monsters, will feature Rodan, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, marking the first time a Toho kaiju other than Godzilla has appeared in an American film. If it works, and I'm confident it will, Legendary will no doubt try to bring in more kaiju from Toho's roster, and from other works as well.
As such, I feel now's the time to tell Legendary which ones we want to see, and there are certain ones which take precedent in my mind. Some of them are from Toho, some of them are from movies Warner Brothers owns the distribution rights to, and others... well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Here, in no particular order, are the 14, that's right, 14 different kaiju I'd like to see in the MonsterVerse.
Number 1.
Thus far, we have quite a few monsters which roam across the land, and some which can fly, but only Godzilla has domain of the sea. That could change if we bring in Titanosaurus.
Not to be confused with the real dinosaur of the same name, Titanosaurus is a weird variant of aquatic dinosaur first introduced in Terror of Mechagodzilla, making him the last new kaiju of the Showa series. Considering he's a tooth and claw kaiju, he actually packs quite a punch, even managing to knock Godzilla down temporarily.
What really makes me want to see Titanosaurus is the fact that he could potentially be one of the good guys.
Terror states that the Titanosaurus species is normally gentle, unlikely to attack anyone, and the only reason he's attacking in the movie is because aliens are controlling his brain.
With this in mind, Titanosaurus could be a very interesting addition to the MonsterVerse. A creature who doesn't want to fight, but winds up having to because of the circumstances.
That's just one possibility, of course, but one that would be very interesting to see. Number 2.
I mentioned in an earlier video that Mothra and Rodan could potentially carry their own spin-offs following Godzilla King of the Monsters. If that does come to pass, Mothra has an opponent all ready to go in the form of Batra.
First introduced in the Heisei series, Batra is Mothra's polar opposite, the yin to her yang, the dark to her light. Whereas she's a protector, he's a destroyer. Whereas she is good, he is evil. Well, sort of. The original movie is a bit confusing on where his allegiances lie. Including him in the MonsterVerse would help expand the mythology and give Mothra a powerful adversary for any potential solo outing. Which, I reiterate, is something I'd like to see happen. Number 3.
I feel that if we're going to bring in monsters from the Atomic Age, we may as well go all the way back to the beginning and bring in the Rhedosaurus. Or as he's better known, the beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
Yup, this guy was the first, his movie predating both Godzilla and them by a year. He also has quite a career for a non-primate American monster, having also appeared in movies like When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth. Of course, his inclusion would also serve as a great homage to both Ray Harryhausen and Ray Bradbury, as his premiere film is the closest the two lifelong friends ever came to working together. It's, complicated. As far as I'm concerned, the inclusion of this Hollywood dinosaur needs to happen. Number 4.
Ever heard of the sunken empire of Mu? It's basically the same thing as Atlantis, but in the Pacific Ocean instead of the Atlantic. And in the movies, it's guarded by Manda.
Ah, Manda, the classic Asian dragon no one knows the gender of.
I personally prefer the idea of Manda being female, so I'll refer to her as such from this point on. If you don't like it, well, tough.
Anyway, just think of what a cool experience we could get introducing Manda. We discover Mu at the bottom of the sea, and Manda is still there. Whether Mu is still functioning as an underwater society or as a kingdom in ruins, we could still gain more insight into how the people of ancient times interacted with the monsters. Best of all, Manda's role could go either way, as either protector or destroyer. Plus, maybe we could bring in the Gotengo as well? Number 5.
When you get right down to it, the term massive unidentified terrestrial organism is just a fancy way of saying especially large cryptid. So, why not go all the way and bring in the mother of all cryptozoological creatures, Nessie?
A movie featuring the Loch Ness Monster could easily fit in with the established MonsterVerse, especially if they wanted to bring back the team from Kong Skull Island for another outing which didn't involve Kong. The best part is that Legendary wouldn't have to buy the rights to use Nessie.
Whether you think the Loch Ness Monster is a real creature or the most elaborate drawn-out hoax in history, the fact remains that she's in the public domain, so there's nothing stopping the MonsterVerse, or really anyone, from using her.
Heck, there's already an extensive list of killer Nessie movies out there, some of them with high-profile names attached to them. Personally, I think Nessie would be right at home alongside Kong and Godzilla. Number 6.
If I had to guess, this next kaiju is on Legendary's short list of kaiju to acquire from Toho, but just in case, I'm going to ask right now, please, please, please bring in Anguirus.
I feel it's important to bring Anguirus into the mix, since, like the Rhedosaurus, he holds an important place in history as Godzilla's first opponent in Japan's first kaiju fight. He would also fit right in with the established world as a creature with whom Godzilla's race might have a symbiotic relationship with, since he's also considered one of Godzilla's most loyal allies. As I said, Legendary probably already has its eye on Anguirus, so consider this confirmation that we want him to show up. Number 7.
If the MonsterVerse ever brings in alien life, which they easily could since Ghidorah's presence in ancient cave paintings does not necessarily preclude an extraterrestrial origin, my first choice for an invader would be Gigan.
I admit a bit of bias here, as Gigan is one of my favorite kaiju. But can you blame me for liking him? Between his instantly recognizable design and his clearly defined personality, he's one of the best realized kaiju in Toho's roster, even if his personality is a cowardly, dirty fighter. I also love that he's an alien, yet he's a tooth and claw kaiju rather than a beam kaiju. With all of this in mind, he'd be just the sort of enemy that would be great for the MonsterVerse as it expands. Number 8.
Another kaiju Legendary probably has on its short list is Mechagodzilla, and if they do bring him in, he'll probably be a human construct like he was in the Heisei and Millennium series. I'm all for that, but if I may suggest, why not bring in Mogera first?
Something that always bugged me about the Heisei series is how Mogera was supposed to be an improvement over Mechagodzilla, yet he looked and performed much worse. Mogera feels more like a prototype than Mechagodzilla, so maybe the MonsterVerse could run with this idea, having him be mankind's first attempt at making a giant robot, only for it to fail miserably, and then Mechagodzilla can be the next improved attempt. That is, unless they go with the original idea of having Mogera be an alien weapon. That could work too. He'd still be a piece of junk either way. Number 9.
When I postulated that Kong Skull Island might have teased a new mystery monster, a lot of people said it might be the Great Cthulhu from H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos. So sure, why not?
In many ways, Cthulhu is the first kaiju of the 20th century, being a vaguely humanoid, enormous horror from the Pacific.
Heck, the MonsterVerse already has some Lovecraftian overtones, especially in how it depicts the kaiju as these giant godlike creatures which ruled Earth before mankind.
Introducing Cthulhu would bring the comparison full circle, not to mention give Kong and Godzilla a foe to unite against. As a bonus, Cthulhu is also in the public domain like Nessie, so Legendary could use him however they wanted. Number 10.
Okay, just hear me out on this. What if we brought in Zilla?
First of all, yes, this could happen. TriStar may own the 1998 Godzilla movie, but Toho owns Zilla thanks to how he was originally trademarked as a version of Godzilla. hence why he's appeared in other media without TriStar's input.
Secondly, if you've read Godzilla Rulers of Earth or watched the animated series, you know that Zilla can be a cool kaiju when he's put in the right hands.
Really though, I just want to see this happen because of how meta it would be. Just imagine, both American Godzillas on screen together. Deep down, you know there's a part of you which wants to see that. Number 11.
One of the stranger beasts to come out of the Atomic Age is the giant Behemoth.
Implied to be one of a species of semi-aquatic sauropods living in the ocean, the Behemoth is naturally electric in similar manner to an eel. However, since it's been irradiated, each electric pulse it generates results in nuclear fallout wherever it goes, making it an especially deadly foe for mankind. Including the Behemoth in the MonsterVerse would serve as another homage of sorts, since it was one of the last monsters animated by Willis O'Brien, who animated the original King Kong. So why not bring him in? Number 12.
Hey, want a monster that combines classical mythology with kaiju action? Then King Caesar is the beast for you.
King Caesar is based on the Shisa of Okinawan tradition, which usually serve the role of guardians. Ergo, King Caesar would be an interesting addition to the MonsterVerse as another one of the good monsters, perhaps as the one who inspired the Shisa in the first place. In fact, he might be another kaiju that could support his own movie, if Legendary played its cards right. Number 13.
You know what would be really cool to see? Kaiju and superheroes in the same movie. Now, Warner Brothers could make that happen by combining the MonsterVerse and the DC universe, but I don't think they have any plans to do so. Instead, they could bring in Jaguar.
Let's just ignore the fact that he's a ripoff of Ultraman for the time being and focus on what he could bring to the table. Jaguar could bridge the gap between superhero and monster. He has the superhero visuals down pat with his bright colors and recognizable silhouette, but his personality is all monster. He is just as unknowable as your average kaiju. You can never tell what he's thinking or what he'll do, meaning he would fit comfortably in the MonsterVerse without betraying the overarching themes. And before anyone says he's too campy to be properly updated for modern times, I remind you that this used to be Batman, and he's currently got more fans than this Batman. There's no reason Jaguar can't be updated and be amazing in the right hands. Besides, he was also originally meant to have his own film franchise. Just saying. Number 14.
If there is one kaiju at Toho who deserves better than he's gotten so far, it's Varon.
As a monster, he has a neat design and the ridiculous ability to defy the laws of physics by flying like Superman. Yet he's only ever played a major role in one movie. The only other time he appeared was a cameo.
The number of movies he's been written out of is staggering, and his only solo film is a mess for the most frustrating reasons imaginable.
He deserves better, and if Legendary is smart, they can bring him to the MonsterVerse and give him better.
And that's my list. Now bear in mind, this doesn't mean I don't want to see original kaiju show up still, but if we're going to bring in older ones, they may as well be these guys, right? How about you? Are there any in particular you would like to see show up? Feel free to leave your thoughts below. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer, signing off. No, I did not mention the Kaiju and Jaegers from Pacific Rim because they're still over at Universal. I think we're just gonna have to live with that.